I keep my breath still so I'm steady. Keep my eyes fixed on the door. Keep a bullet in the chamber. Keep my feet firm on the floor. I keep the skies high above me. Keep the roads stretch and fall. It keeps my mind from going crazy. Keeps my heart going cold. Just in case it rains. Just in case it rains.
In May 1996, Cutco Cutlery purchases Kabar from Cole National Corporation, rescuing an American icon.
There's no way around it. LCAS saved Kabar knives. It brought Kabar truly home, put the home office back in Olean, New York. Without their intervention, Kabar probably would have went away.
In 1996, when they purchased Kabar, I was 20 years old, and at the time working in the Cutco factory. They needed some employees to help out in the shipping department. I was one of the first employees hired by Kabar and became their main picker, packer, shipper of all the raw materials and finished products that were getting sent out the door for the orders at the time.
Under the Cutco umbrella, initial Kabar offerings are limited. The USMC fighting utility knife is the centerpiece of Kabar's rebirth.
I think there'll always be a need for a good knife and for combat soldiers. It's just that way it is. As we move more forward with technology, and they talk about push-button warfare and drones and all these kind of things, and the technology advances to a point where they're talking about autonomous tanks and aircraft, you're always going to need guys on the ground. There's always the need for the infantry, for soldiers that can take ground and hold ground. And when that comes down to it, it goes right back to the basics of hand weapons and tools like that. And of course, if it ever comes down to it, it could come down to hand in hand, and you're going to want a good blade on your side, and that's going to have to be a Kabar for most guys.
The attacks on American soil on September 11, 2001, plunged the United States into global conflict.
One of the real big turning points for the company was in 2003 when we got involved in multiple operations in Afghanistan and Iraq. The knife that came to the forefront again was the Kabar. It reintroduced this legend to a new generation of warriors because pound for pound, it's still the best value on the market when it comes to just an all-purpose utility knife. The design is timeless, and it still does exactly what it does today, what it did then, and does it well.
A surge in demand creates the conditions and capital to expand Kabar's product line. More knives are made in Olean, New York, creating jobs and fostering a sense of pride in American manufacturing.
The product line slowly was built back up under LCAS, and when it started, it was just the 1217 USMC fighting utility knife. That did expand due to demand to the US Army and the US Navy, for a brief period of time the US Coast Guard as well. One thing that never really changed throughout all of these transitions in the company history was the Kabar name, the Kabar reputation, the tradition that was behind it, the way that it is revered throughout families from veterans, and the overall American growth has been astronomical.
The Kabar family grows to include custom knife designers from around the country.
The advent of custom knife makers became in vogue probably the 80s when custom knife makers and manufacturers started collabing and getting together and producing products that were different than what just the company would do by itself. For us, there was none of that until 1996 when we bought the company. And we started with Bob Dozier, then moved on with John Benner at TDI, Ethan Becker, Jesse Jars, Mike Snowdy, Steve Johnson. All of these persons have a different element about them that they're trying to relate to the consumer and say, this is who I am, this is what I do. And For us, it was trying to find people that had stories that identified with their consumer base, like our stories identify with our consumer base.
In 2014, Kabar acquires another World War II knife icon in Ek Commando Knife. Subsequent collaborations under the Ek umbrella with Spartan Blades and Jesse Jarez expand the Kabar footprint. Today, Kabar continues to evolve. The fighting utility product line continues to form the backbone of the Kabar brand. New products, such as the Kabar Spork, combined with the Kabar Master Series, have diversified Kabar offerings.
We've spent quite a bit of time over the last 5, 6, 7 years really creating an environment of change and willingness to change internally with our employees. Our employees know who we are, they know what the brand stands for, they know what we do, but it's to not get so tied down in the muck that you're scared to change and be fluid, because we've seen that so many times with this company over the timeline of it that's when it fails, when you get so scared that you just do the status quo. And we've got wonderful employees here, Cutco, everybody who's involved in everything with Kabar, they get it. They get what this thing is. And they like to be a part of this thing that can evolve and change and move and be something else. I don't know where it will be in 5 years. I don't know where it'll be in 10 years. But it's a whole lot of fun being part of it and watching it change and watching your young employees come in, have an idea on something. It's like, okay, let's try it.
April 2018 represents 120 years in the Kabar story. The Kabar story is about more than just knives. It represents family, duty, tradition, ingenuity, resilience, and pride.
When I think of a Kabar knife, I think of kind of like a historic value. It's been around for a long time. It's something that's been proven. It's got the history. Whatever design may be out, whatever new features or whatever it may be the newest thing, but it's still got that history and proven capability.
I'm a history buff, so I think of the history behind that and how many young kids relied on their Kabar, and to them a Kabar was more than just a knife, and I think that's why every knife out there in that pattern is a Kabar, and that definitely says something for the brand.
If you were to go downtown in the Strip right now with a whiteboard and take random individuals, 50 of them as they walk by, give them 6 seconds to draw a knife on a whiteboard, and you were to superimpose those over the top of each other, you'd probably have something that looked like a Kabar knife. I mean, Kabar's been around so long, and it's such an iconic brand. For those that don't live in the knife industry, those that don't collect or don't use them, their first thought of a knife is either one of two things, a kitchen knife or a Kabar.
Kabar's one of the few cutlery companies that's lasted the test of time. They're making the same product, and they continue to improve upon that product every year, and it's just a legendary company. It's one of those companies that's an icon in America.
It's a knife of American myth. And it's been in every war we've been in since the early parts of World War II, Korea, Vietnam, every little outlying event, military event, there have been Kabars there. And the good ones are actually made by Kabar.
Despite the many setbacks, Kabar has always picked itself up from the canvas and continued the fight, a fitting tribute to the example set by Wallace, Emerson, and John Brown.
The story of Kabar isn't always a pretty one. It's not always one that has a clear line from point A to point B, but it's one that we're very proud of, and it's one that we hope that we're continuing to write, that we're pushing it forward, that 120 years from now, we'll be having a similar conversation, just the faces have changed.
So to sit here today and to work on a project like this is so important on multiple levels. Because as we dig through this history and we flip over rocks and find nuggets and try to piece things back together, we're doing our due diligence to pass the stories forward the best we know and to help out the longevity of this company and the story of this company and the lore and everything that comes along with it, to make sure that the stories get told and the stories remain.
Dresser drawer and a box of coins, jackknife and a bigger one. It's called a Kabar, real good knife. He took it with him back when he got out. And it's fading now and it's hard to read. When you were a kid, it was the best thing you'd ever seen, but it ain't got nothing to do with you. That's your father's tattoo. It was a time he was hard and young, and he stood up straight in front of anyone. Back when he was sure of every little thing he knew, back before your brother and you. And it's not as bright as it used to be. There's an eagle flying and a flag that says Marines, but it ain't got nothing to do with you. That's your father's tattoo. Might have broke your mother's heart once in a while, and you wanna know, and you kinda don't. Time you sat at a bar and talked through the beer, through the smoke. He said something about the Philippines and something about the Hucks, some advice that sounded more like luck. He told you things that he don't remember, some things you know about and some things you never will. Something about a high school girl, some lies mixed with truth, a car crash and a tear or two. But it ain't got nothing to do with you. That's your father's tattoo. That's your father's tattoo.